Good afternoon, everybody. We are back to Big Men on Campus, and we are live Wednesday, January 18, 2017. My name is Jeff, the Big Men on Campus, joined with my co-host Ryan. Ryan, Metallica always gets me pumped up. I don't listen to a lot of rock music, but they are a group that I always liked. Always a lot of really good tracks, great guitar, always really good sound. I always get hype off Metallica.
It's funny, one of my best friends in middle school actually introduced me to Metallica, and they're obviously one of the better kind of hard rock bands, and obviously they were extremely popular, and they have a lot of good songs. But they're definitely a band that's going to get you fired up for sure. You're not going to listen to that on a hot summer night when the sun's going down or something like that. It's definitely something that's going to get you fired up in a situation like that. So, and we're fired up because we had a good show last night. So we had some success on the show. So hopefully that carries in tonight. I got off the schneid. You went 2-1, I believe, and hopefully
I did not get 2-1, right? I went 1-2 actually.
1-2.
I had the free picks. I had UCF. That was an easy winner. I had Wisconsin. They didn't play to their full potential, I don't think. And Central Michigan, who was hanging the whole game, but the other team was in the bonus with 15 minutes to go. So, what can you do there?
Yeah.
But either way, 1-2 yesterday, 40-36 on the year with my free plays. Having some fun here, trying to pick some winners. It's free, entertainment only. You want the real plays? Come join me at BMOCwins.com. You can DM me on Twitter to find out more about that. A lot of people on here, a lot of good guys already. Brad Hasten, Donnie Rarig, Nikki T, 0-7 after Sears Heater last week. BMOC lets me get back on track with some solid opinions. Appreciate all the info. Helped me crush it last week. Ryan has had some great. Ryan hit his play of the day last night. He's been doing pretty good with that. What are you, Ryan?
I'm 10-7.
10-7, very good. That's a winning year so far. Nikki, hit me up, man. Scott, what's up? New to the show. Follow you on Odds Couple, and I'm here now. Very good. Thank you. Great to have the Odds Couple. Do that most of the mornings, and met some really good guys doing that. So welcome to everyone out there, new and old. Whether you're a longtime listener like Shoddy K or Donnie Rarig or Jeremy Denson or a new guy like Nikki or Scott, welcome. I listened to Metallica before Jeff and Ryan were born. I guess that makes us feel young, right? Donnie Rightside, what's up, pal? Donnie's finally out of the abyss of betting college basketball. Welcome. Brian Talati, we'll get to that. Chris Barr, you can go fuck yourself. Just go spend your millions of dollars you have and leave us alone. So let's jump into everything here, Ryan. So great job last night with your play of the day.
Thanks.
An easy winner on Illinois, Chicago, -4.5. They get the job done against Milwaukee. Great job. Nathan Jones, how you doing, buddy? Let's jump into tonight's action, Ryan. A big card. Feel free, guys. You don't have to send in your games. We'll try to get to everyone. We're only going to be on the air till about 5:45, Ryan. I have to go on to another show. I'm going to be on Danny B. I haven't been on his show for a while. Danny asked me to call in and talk about some of the NFL games and kind of catch up. So, feel free. I'll tweet that out tonight. It's always fun catching up with Danny B. A lot of energy from him. And I'll be calling into his show here soon enough. So, what we'll do, Ryan, tomorrow, we'll get into the conference championships. We've done really well with those. I don't think we have we might have 1 or 2 losses.
I can't remember how we did wild card weekend, but we had a very good divisional round. So
last week I don't think we lost last week.
No, we didn't.
I think we had all 4 games were correct. We've done pretty well. So we'll break them down tomorrow. College basketball as well, and I have a little game we'll play as well. So let's focus on college basketball today, Ryan. First game I'm going to take a look at is a free play of mine. I'm going to go with Utah -9 against Washington State, and this one kind of escaped me for most of the day. I didn't really do a ton with this game. It escaped me for a while, and I kind of looked at it, and I capped it and kind of looked more into it, and I've liked what I've seen out of Utah since they became, Kuzma got healthy, David Collette and Bearfield became eligible to play. So they've been playing well, Ryan. You look at what they've done: 81 points a game, 51% from the field all year. That's just this 1 or 2 games. So they've really gotten a nice offensive edge lately, particularly on the offensive end. Holding opponents, just 40% shooting. They're always going to play tight defense. Kristoviak always preaches tight defense. And look, they've been a good rebounding team as well. They definitely have the edge in this one against a undersized Washington State team. This Washington State team, they've been a doormat, Ryan, for some time in the Pac-12. You always look at a game against Washington State, and 8 times out of 10 you're going to win. They've struggled at home, 2-5 against the spread this year as Washington State, and conference play is always kind of tough to them. They always seemingly look pretty good in non-conference play, but once conference play starts, I mean, they've had trouble. I mean, they're giving up 48% from the field in Pac-12 play. Utah's covered 3 or 4 on the road this year. They've been a very good road team. And one thing you got to like about these 2 guys that have come in, David Collette, the big, 15-6, Ryan. He's almost averaging a block a game as well. Cedric Bearfield, 45% from 3. He gives them a nice outside shooting touch. I'm telling you, Ryan, this Utah team's getting pretty good. They held tough. Maybe should have won against UCLA the other night. They have some quality veterans, some transfers that are getting healthy, like I said. And you look at what they've done against Wazoo. They've covered 8 of 12. Last 2 meetings, 88-47, 92-71. Haven't been close. I'm going to lay the number with Utah. I think they're a pretty good play tonight.
Yeah, and you kind of touched on it, how they're kind of coming into their own a little bit. They're 12-5 on this young season, and 4-1 ATS in their last 5, which starting to kind of pick up some steam here. Yeah, it's a shame they dropped that one to UCLA, because that's a game that was definitely there for the taking. A fantastic kind of last 5 to 7 minutes of that ball game, kind of going back and forth. You and I were watching it, Jeff. And it was fantastic. Would have been a great win for Utah to get at home there. But yeah, going on the road to Washington State isn't necessarily something you really fret year in and year out. Utah really shouldn't struggle too much. I wouldn't think. One thing too about them this year is they are able to score the basketball, and lately they're scoring 77 points a game, which is really admirable. And like you said, shooting 50%. I mean, you're still shooting for 50%. You're doing something right offensively, and I don't label it as like a fluke. Like they're just kind of fluky right now. They're shooting 50%. They're being efficient offensively. That just tells me that this offense is efficient, and I can kind of rely on this offense. Teams that are shooting that well right now, those are offenses that I'm going to continue to look to back going forward. So yeah, Utah tonight, I definitely like kind of the spot here. Washington State just doesn't do much for me. I know at home straight up they're okay, but ATS wise, only 2-5 to the number. Doesn't sound too good to me, Jeff. So I'll definitely back that Utah.
Yeah, and you got to like what they've done recently against Washington State. Really kind of wall to wall. They're playing some good basketball. And look, I was kind of critical of Utah early on. They didn't have a great non-conference schedule. Really hadn't beaten anybody. I made money in particular betting on Butler against them earlier this year. But coming on into conference play, they've really played pretty well. They beat USC. Should have beat UCLA. Have hung tough. So I like what I've seen out of this group, and I think they go on the road. And going up to Washington nowadays, it's not as tough as it used to be. You always had to worry about Washington. Washington's down. Washington State's down. So I like for them to first go out of the way here and get the double-digit victory against Wazoo in this one. Next one. Let's go to this one. Texas Tech, TCU. Kind of an interesting line. Texas Tech at home here, laying 4.5. Over under is 1.
Down to 4. Just
okay, 4. Over under is 135. Texas Tech minus 4. Interesting total, Ryan. This one moved. It was 137. It's been bet down to 135. That's where I'm going to look at this one. I'm going to go over in this game. I look at Texas Tech, for instance. They've covered 8 of 13 overall to the over this year. So, definitely an over trender for the most part. 5 of their 7 home games have gone over. And they've gone over because they've been pretty good offensively this year. Another team that is shooting a high percentage, 83 a game at home, shooting 53%, and overall 50%. So another really good offensive team. You also get TCU. They've been pretty efficient as well. We watched them the other night, Ryan, against Iowa State, and they're pretty efficient. 78 points a game, 47%. And I know a lot will point to Texas Tech's defensive prowess this year, but if you look recently, last week or so, haven't been particularly good. I mean, they're giving up 75 a game. Teams are starting to figure them out a little bit. I've talked about it. I'm not particularly sold on Texas Tech completely. I think they're a team that really just tries to, they're well coached. I won't lie. Chris Beard had a great game plan against West Virginia, but I'm just not sure they're as good defensively as some might think. 3 of the last 5 in this series have gone over, and I just think this one gets into the 140s. I think this is kind of a 2 good offensive teams. I think it should be a close one, close to the vest. I think we see some free throws here. Texas Tech particularly can shoot free throws, and I don't know. I don't have a lot on this one. It was just kind of a feel for me. I like what I've seen out of both these offenses, and defensively lately, they've had some issues. I like the over, 135 here.
Yeah, maybe does it seem kind of like that TCU Iowa State game from Saturday, where a lot of talk about, and we've touched on it on the show, a lot of talk about the Iowa State defense maybe starting to turn a corner, and you look, they gave up 84 points on Saturday. So, and that game goes over 84-76, I think was the final, somewhere around there. So that game definitely shoots over. Kind of the similar thing here, I think. I think Jeff makes a good point about how Texas Tech, you look at the numbers, if you're just glossing over averages and whatnot, you might just see, they're only giving up 60 a game at home. But like he said, as of late, over the last 5 games, 75 a game, and that's kind of something you really kind of need to look at, especially with an efficient team offensively like TCU, who's still kind of hanging tough, who's still covering numbers right now. And, their numbers over-under on the season aren't anything special, about 500. But once they got in, they've 3 of 5 in conference have gone over. So, and likewise for Texas Tech. So I think you're seeing, as we're getting into this conference that has some prolific offenses, you're seeing these teams go over, and that's kind of where I would lean as well. As far as a side, I don't have anything as far as a side if anyone was interested.
Yeah, I don't
in that.
either.
But I like the over though.
Yeah, and I first of all think the total's a little low to begin with. And second of all, I've learned, Ryan, watching these games that a lot more fouls being called. Mm-hmm. These rules are a lot more foul driven. They made it clear they want higher scores in games. They're making shot clock going down. That obviously helps overs. Listen, I mean, it's still hard to pick an over under, but with a total like this, I mean, 2 teams that obviously can shoot the basketball does look a little square to me, but
each team has about 17, 18 fouls a game, so, I mean, that's kind of high-ish.
Yeah. I mean, you figure 70, 67 is a winner here. So, I think both DCs can get to 70, and I think we'll see an over here at 135. Just think it's a little low, to be honest. And I don't really get the movement. I would think this one would have gone up a little bit, but we'll fade that movement and go over here. Buzz, what's up, pal? How you doing, mate? Always good to hear from you.
What's up, mate?
Hope you have a Foster's in your hand.
He doesn't like Foster's, remember?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, right.
He said it's not really a good beer.
James Bew, why don't you go ahead and accept Barr's challenge? Put his ass to rest. Because, first of all, we mentioned yesterday, Chris is a known liar and scam artist. He's a guy that talks out of 2 ways of his ass. We have messages from him where he's made it clear he's leaving the industry, and he has nothing to do with it. I just don't trust him. I don't think it'll work correctly. We've had some issues with him before. Listen, I've made it clear I'm doing a it's not like $20,000 a piece kind of stakes, but we're doing a bracket challenge this year. Chris is more than welcome to join.
Chris was in one last year.
Yeah, he was. Right. But, when you involve Chris, it becomes there's all these shady deals going on and, splitting and that kind of thing. Chris, you're welcome to join the bracket pool, $500. You could come in that, but I'm not interested in a week-long contest. First of all, that's not going to prove anything. And second of all, I just don't really do business with Chris at that kind of level. So, Chris, I've asked you before, stop calling me, leave me alone. So I'm good with him. So I'm going to go over 135 in TCU Texas Tech. Ryan, do I need to prove myself to anyone? I mean, really. I've done this pretty long. I don't think I need to prove anything to anyone. Jeff, what's good? Ryan, I see you got back on track. That's what's up. Yeah, Dinero, thank you for that. Ryan,
appreciate the kind words.
Ryan got back on track. That was a really good play, Ryan. It was we continue to go with Illinois, Chicago, and they continue to catch. A great call. Third game for me, Ryan. And look, I was back and forth on this play. And look, I think when you look at the game itself, yeah, I know, brother, I know. But I felt this guy out, kind of. I think we've all dealt with him for a long period of time, and I think we're well aware. So, listen, I want to just move on. I don't want to deal with him anymore. I'm going to go with Florida State, Ryan. I'm going to lay the number here.
Okay.
And I'm going to tell you why. I've learned, and I've kind of did a little, not research, but I've noticed that, and I said it last night, Ryan. First of all, UNC on Saturday. Mm-hmm. I took Florida State, and I'm annoyed that I did because I felt like I should have seen that coming. I remember back to Baylor, West Virginia. Remember that line?
Yep.
Didn't make a lot of sense.
Right.
Last night. Remember Siena was laying all those points?
Yes.
Line was going up. No one understood why.
Yep.
Didn't make any kind of sense. Look what happened. Same exact thing here tonight. I think a lot of people are going to jump on Florida or Notre Dame in this game. Notre Dame has won a lot of close games. They're tough. But again, at some point, they're not going to play this all year. And I made it clear I don't like betting against Notre Dame, and that's why this is a free play. I'm testing a system out that I've noticed here. And I see a team in Florida State that, first of all, Ryan, they're laying 6.5 in this game. They're 8-2 at home against the spread. 23-13 over the last 3 years at home. And you look at what they've done. 92 points a game. They're the better rebounding team. They have 12 guys that can run. Florida State is really deep. And that's one thing where I think going forward that Notre Dame is going to have some issues with. They are not a deep team. They're not a huge team either. They're not very big. Notre Dame's won 7 in a row. They've played great. They have that Catholic luck. But I'm concerned with the fact of when will that stop? They're not, like I said, they're not going to win every game, right? I know they shoot free throws well. I know there's some things they do well. And one thing you have to point out, Florida State fouls a lot. And I'm sure you'll bring that up, Ryan. 20 a game.
They do.
That's a lot.
It is.
But Florida State's so deep. The line speaks for itself here. This doesn't make sense. I small rat here, Ryan. I'm going to go with the Seminoles. I'm going to lay the number. I think they'll do enough late. And they could really blitz Notre Dame. I think Notre Dame's blitzable. They're one of those teams that are blitzable. I'm going to go with the over here. Or not the over. I'm going to go with Florida State here, minus 6.5.
Yeah, Florida State's going to cover that number. Two things they got to do is they got to continue to guard the three-point line, which they do really well at home. Hold opponents to shoot under 30%, which everyone knows Notre Dame, a good three-point shooting team, around 40% for the year. Another thing, Jeff, like you touched on, they got to stay out of foul trouble because when you're laying a number like this, free throws can definitely be an equalizer, and 20 fouls a game, that is a high number. And with a team like Notre Dame, who is the best free throw shooting team in the country, that can kind of keep the game a little close. So those are two things they definitely have to do. But you're right, and a lot of people I see in the chat box kind of echo the same sentiment, is the lack of size for Notre Dame too, and that's kind of worrisome with the big bodies down low for Florida State. Bonzie Colson, he's nothing special.
And he's not big either.
He's a high energy guy, gives you some emotion, but yeah, he's not big. He's not going to give you a whole lot size wise down there, so that kind of worries me. Yeah, this is a game I looked at this afternoon and I kind of was breaking down, and kind of from the surface, it looks like maybe these teams are similar ATS wise and whatnot. Identical records straight up. So, but yeah, Florida State, I think they blitz Notre Dame. I think they win double digits here. Just kind of a feeling I have. Look, they have the size. It's at home. The way they can score, and I like how deep they are. That's a good point. I think going forward with Notre Dame, that's something with Florida State's really going to help them as the season gets shorter and shorter.
And here's the problem: Notre Dame is a public bet. They're a public team. People love Notre Dame. People like Notre Dame in Montana. People like Notre Dame in Alabama.
Yep.
They love Notre Dame everywhere. Okay, best Gambler, you know everything. We remember. We forget. But it's not so much size here, dude. It's the depth. If Bonzie Colson gets in foul trouble, they're going to have some problems. Yeah. I just think, and again, John, that's a great point. I just think with what I've seen out of some of these games that I've looked at that they kind of look too good to be true, the teams always winning by double digits.
Marquee games.
Yeah.
Yep.
it's kind of been a thing. And I think John makes another good point. A lot of tough road games here lately for Notre Dame.
Yeah.
Another one here.
There has been. And they've come through with flying colors in them so far. So we'll see kind of what tonight holds.
The one concern for me would be Notre Dame is elite free throw shooting. I mean, they are really 84% is really fantastic as a team. I mean, really. We'll see. They've had some crazy luck. Matt Farrell has had, I think been great, but I think he's had some luck on his side too. I mean, that play against Virginia Tech, I mean, that's a 50-50 ball he got.
Right.
So I don't know. We'll see. But I'm going to go against the and I don't like to bet against Notre Dame. It's not been a thing I like to make, all the time. But I'm going to do it here. I'm going to go Florida State -6.5. I'm going to also lay the number with Utah -9, and I'm going to take over 135 Texas Tech TCU. Irish have a better coach. I agree. However, I think what Leonard Hamilton can do with these lineup moves and putting people in and taking people out, and I mean, he's great with that. That's one thing he's really good with.
One thing I've noticed has Florida State really had like a hard kind of wire-to-wire game yet? Has that happened for Florida State?
Well, I'm
trying to think. Has that happened?
They were within 6 for most of the game against UNC. That final score was not indicative.
But I mean, like down to the wire. Because I'd be interested to see how this team responds in those kind of situations. Because as you get into the conference tournaments, as you get into NCAA,
they haven't had many
tournament. I mean, that's important to kind of see how this team responds when they're back against the wall. And maybe we'll get one tonight, maybe we won't. But as the season goes on, that's definitely one thing with Florida State. Because look, they're a new team. I mean, they've kind of been on the upswing a little bit, but this year is definitely new to them. So I'm interested to see how the coach and how the team performs with their back.
Something I'll also say is I think Florida State is slightly better defensively as well, so that could come into play here too. What's up, Guan? How you doing? Can you break down Florida, South Carolina? Yes, Ryan. That's actually your play of the day, if I'm correct.
Yes.
Why don't you break that down?
Yeah, good segue there.
Because I have no idea on this one.
Yeah,
I think this one's tough.
A lot of people think it's tough for sure. I mean, you got Florida going to South Carolina laying 1.5 here. Line was at a pick'em, kind of went up to 2 for most of the day. It's dropped down to 1.5, so we'll use 1.5. But I'm not going to even use the line. I'm going to actually take Florida here on the money line. Look,
wow.
Yeah, I like Florida. I think Florida's going to go in and they're going to knock off South Carolina. Florida, look, one thing, Florida's played a ton of road games.
Yeah, I like Florida.
Look,
I'm
Florida's
a fan.
played a ton of road games this year. If you look at Florida, and that's kind of one thing. Look, we've backed Florida. I've backed Florida on my play today a couple times, and I'm going to go back to them here. They've played a ton of road games. They're battle tested. They, that win in Alabama where they blew a big lead, got it back, and ended up covering by double digits was really impressive to me. So I look for them to kind of go in here into South Carolina, a team that they've had a lot of success with. Lost the one game last year. Prior to that, had won 7 straight against the Gamecocks here. And you look. Florida, like I said, played a lot of road games, 13 of them to be exact. They're 10-3 in such games. We've talked about the 3 losses, all against top 15 programs, and 7-4 ATS on the road this year. Look, South Carolina, though, you can't kind of turn your head away with what they've done this year. How good they are defensively really kind of speaks volumes about Frank Martin and this team. Holding teams to 58 points per game at home. That's stifling. I mean, that's fantastic. Florida, though, no slouch defensively either, holding teams to about 67 points a game. So for me, obviously, South Carolina is better defensively, but it's not by a drastic margin. I just look at Florida and I think their athletes and I think their playmakers and scorers are a little bit more effective than South Carolina, and that's ultimately, in my opinion, what's going to kind of separate things here is Florida's ability to score and kind of get points when they need it. Kenyon Barry, what he's done lately has been fantastic. I mean, he's kind of risen up and been their kind of go-to guy over the last week or so. I kind of look for that to continue, and I just look for Florida to kind of continue to kind of come out in these sort of games and get a win, which they've shown that they're able to do. They've won 7 in a row. I look for it to continue. I'm going to back the Gators. I like Florida. I like them going forward. So it's definitely a tough game, but I don't know. I'm just not 100% sold with South Carolina. I'm just not. They got off to a nice start. Then they had a hiccup. Now they've ripped off a nice little run here, but it has been against some inferior opponents. So they haven't really played anyone that's kind of that wows you. So this will be an interesting one for South Carolina tonight to kind of see where they're at. So I like Florida. So they're going to be my play of the day. 10-7 on the year. Let's kind of hope to get another streak here going. So.
Yeah, and I'll tell you what, Ryan, I think that's the difference here in why I would agree with you. I think South Carolina, like you said, haven't really been challenged. They seem to do this every year. I remember a couple years ago, they were undefeated. When they had Marcus, forget his last name, but they always seem to do that. And you look at some of the teams, I mean, Florida's challenged themselves. I mean, Seton Hall, Gonzaga, Miami, Duke, Florida State, Arkansas, a tough game in the SEC. They've went on the road, beat Alabama, beat Georgia. I think one thing in the SEC that we find is, particularly other than Kentucky and Florida, there's not a whole lot else. Okay, there's not a lot of really good teams. I think Florida is more battle tested, if you will.
They are. No, they are. Absolutely are.
I think that. Again, I like Sindarius Thornwell. I like some of the things that Frank Martin and those guys have, and they're good at home. But I look at Florida, I see when Kayvon Allen doesn't play well, they have Caddyberry.
Yep.
They have guys, John Egbunu who can step in. They're just always quality. And what I like about them this year, Ryan, is not only are they good defensively, but they also now have an offensive game.
Yep.
They're scoring 80 points a game.
Yep.
So. Yeah, I like this play. I think it really comes down to the wire. I like that we're getting, a point or two. But you're going to take them on the money line, you said.
I'm going to take them on the money line.
Get a little extra.
I'm going to take them on the money line.
Doesn't make a lot of sense in this show because...
I'm not going to put a point and a half there.
Yeah, you don't think it's really...
I'm not going to do it. I'm going to take the money line here.
Cool.
And, I think they win, and I think they get the job done. Another thing, Jeff, we've talked about before when we broke down Florida, very good free throw shooting team. That kind of came to fruition, too, in the Bama game where they hit a lot of free throws late and were able to separate themselves.
Sure.
So I'm going to go with Florida.
Yeah, and I mean, one other thing on South Carolina, let's look at their schedule. La Tech, Holy Cross, Monmouth, South Carolina State, Michigan, Syracuse.
Two teams that haven't lived up to hype. Yep.
Clemson they lose to. Memphis they lose to. South Florida's terrible. Florida International, Georgia.
Yep.
Georgia's probably their best win.
Georgia's their best win, yeah.
That's probably your best win. You held Michigan to 46. That's pretty impressive. But
that was also their worst shooting night of the year. So
Michigan
they couldn't hit anything.
Right.
Couldn't.
You beat Monmouth by 1. You beat Syracuse. Okay, but I don't think there's battle tested as Florida.
Yep.
And I'm not sure that Florida's a veteran team. They are veteran guys. I think they're going to be able to go on the road and get the job done here. I like what they did, and I know it was Alabama, but they went down in that game after a big lead.
Yep.
Didn't worry. Just kind of came back and hung around and got the job done. Ryan, who has more seniors and juniors? Interesting question. I would probably say Florida does. A lot of older kids there.
Right.
Allen and
off the top of my head, I don't know though.
I'm pretty sure it's Florida, if I'm correct. Ryan, I got to tell you, I like our picks tonight. I think we got some good ones here. Florida's at 2 at William Hill. Well, James, maybe you want to grab that.
Yeah, sure.
So 4 plays tonight from Ryan and I. Ryan's play of the day is the Florida Gators on the money line. I'm also on Florida State minus 6.5. Texas Tech and TCU over 135, and Utah minus 9. Both of us, Ryan, have winning records this year on the show, so let's keep it going. Let's jump into the rest of the games here and kind of jump on some of these here. A lot of these guys want us to take a look at these games, Ryan. Let's start this one out. Am I an idiot if I throw heavy on Indiana full game or half? Penn State has bitten me in the ass so much where pride got in the way too. Well, first of all, you're not an idiot. Second of all, I don't think you should throw heavy on any game. I think you should be smart and stick to the same amount, Nikki. That's what I would tell you. But for me in this game, this is a must-win for Indiana. They have to win this game. They cannot afford another loss, especially on the road. They have to get it straight. My question is, I don't know if they can. Defensively, they are bad right now. Their guard play has not been good. And Thomas Bryant, like Trey has said many times, he's just not the same dominating player.
Yeah.
One thing about Penn State that I've learned is, listen, I was pretty down on Penn State. I mean, I remember I bet against them against George Mason. They got absolutely crushed at home.
Yeah.
Now they get some wins, but you look at their wins. I mean, Michigan State at the Palestra. Michigan State's not very good.
Right.
And I think, to be honest, Minnesota's a little bit of a fraud. So for me, I think Indiana gets the job done here. Skeptical though to bet, but they should cover 3.
That's the problem. Is you wonder about them right now, and Jeff and I have said it's kind of be very reluctant to bet them right now, just from what they've shown us, not being able to kind of get the job done. But yeah, I mean, on the surface, it definitely looks like that they would be the play, but I'd be really hard pressed to put my money in their hands.
Yeah, right now, and that's kind of my thing. I'm not really big into buying low with a team like this. I'll wait for them to kind of prove who they are because now it's time to put up or shut up with me in this one. So, yeah, like I said, but I thought Minnesota. I thought I thought they would go into Penn State and kind of get the job done, and they did
early.
Right, they were up double digits. But what you're seeing nowadays, I think if you like Indiana, I think you bet the first half because they're going to come out with their heads chopped off or they're not.
Right.
So I don't know. It's tough, but I would go with Indiana, but it's just a lean. Missouri State, Indiana State. You talk about a team desperate for a win. Indiana State at home, they have really struggled. They had some big wins early.
Yep.
Beat Butler early, hung with Iowa State, lost by a point, I believe. Just hasn't been the same, though, for them. Thanks, Thomas. Appreciate it. Enjoy your night, man. I don't have a ton on this one. Missouri State battling some injuries and stuff. I feel like Indiana State's desperate at home here.
They are desperate, and that's kind of what I don't have much in this game, but that's definitely the kind of the focal point here is a desperate home team here, kind of worth backing in a pick situation. Another team I'm just kind of good with right now.
Yeah, VCU Fordham. We've talked about Fordham. They're bad.
They are.
And
bad.
VCU's coming off a loss.
Right.
And I was. You were surprised to know that Moali Cox is still on VCU somehow.
Because we were watching the game the other day, and you're like, "Yeah, remember Moali Cox?" I was like, "Yeah, I remember him." You're like,
he's not still.
I was
out
like,
there.
"He's not still there." He goes, "Yeah, look at the TV." And
there he is.
He reminds me of like a horse too. He's fucking huge.
Yeah, he's a big dude. He's been literally on that team for 9 years.
Long time.
VCU or nothing for me here.
Right.
I'm not interested in Fordham.
No.
Temple, Cincinnati. I've talked about a lot. Cincinnati's really good at home. I mean, really good at home.
Yep.
Defensively, they're great. They can score. And Temple, look, I'm not interested in them right now.
Not sure how you can be.
I root for Temple. I like to see them do well, but for me, I just can't get involved with them. They're too inconsistent right now for me.
Yeah, 1-4 ATS in the last 5 as well.
And Obi Echenewa has literally vanished. I mean, he was killing it like for the first 10 games of the season and just disappeared. I don't know what happened. Duquesne, George Washington, no opinion. St. Joe's, UMass, no opinion. Missouri, Alabama. Is Missouri this bad?
I was looking at this game
13
too.
points?
I know.
I'm going to believe that they can hang around.
Yeah.
I've noticed in that conference, even last night, Mississippi State hung around, Texas hung, or they're in a different conference, but hung around. I want to believe Missouri can hang here, but we'll see.
I mean,
Alabama's pretty bad.
Defensively, they're good, but are they going to be able to score?
Yeah.
But Missouri's really poor defensively here, so yeah, this is one I'm good on.
Oklahoma, West Virginia. I don't have a big feel on that one. If Jordan Woodard was in there, I'd be interested because I feel like they're a better team without.
And it's one more ball handler to have.
But they have nothing down low. Oklahoma's not very good.
They're not.
West Virginia should roll here. Tulane, Tulsa. Is Tulsa good enough to be laying 11 points?
I don't know. Tulane is pretty bad, but
I watched Tulane the other night, and they are bad. They have 1 or 2 good players, but on the road, I'm not really big into it. I don't know that Tulsa should be laying 10.5, but I'm not looking to back Tulane either. So my advice.
Tulsa's been a very good ATS team, though. If you look at them, 6-1 ATS in home games, 4-0 in conference, and you can't say the same about Tulane.
Right.
They've been very bad.
Yeah, Ben. I listen. I don't like Tulane at all, and I'm really not interested in betting on Tulsa either. So that would be no play for me. Northern Iowa, Loyola. That's an interesting one. Loyola, I thought would be a lot better than they are. They have some solid players, and Northern Iowa's been pretty poor as well.
Not the same Northern Iowa team that we expect.
I think Loyola Chicago's in for a win here for some reason.
I would say I actually like Loyola in this game.
Yeah, I could see them winning.
That actually jumped out.
Live dog maybe,
Yep.
Money line maybe. Was Northern Iowa discussed? Yeah, I would go with. Yeah, we're talking about it right now. I would probably lean with the dog there.
That's kind of the way I lean. Yep.
You know, like we've talked about, Northern Iowa does not have a Wes Washburn anymore. There's no Ali Farouk-Manesh that can win a game for you.
Yep.
You know, Jeremy Morgan, I guess, but he hasn't been particularly good either. Virginia, Boston College, no opinion. Seems like a lot of points. Boston College has covered some numbers this year. LSU, Auburn. Bruce Pearl, 500th win tonight if you can get the job done.
Interesting.
No Blakeney for LSU either, but I don't really want to lay 9 points either. Illinois State, Bradley. Maybe under. Two really good defensive teams. Low scoring. Maybe you want to lean under there. I'm just going to run through the rest of these here because I don't have – I got to jump off here pretty soon. Miami, Wake. It's Miami or pass for me. I like Danny Manning. Like some of the things that they've got going down there. And Miami, I'm not sure that I believe in them just yet.
Yeah.
Defensively, though, they're really good.
Yeah, they're stifling.
So for me, I think they can go on the road and get the job done, but
they should be able to go to Wake. I mean, sure. I mean,
Wake's not nothing to talk home about.
No.
You know, if you can play defense and kind of control the tempo, you're going to beat Wake Forest. Ohio State +2. Yeah, I don't like betting against Nebraska at home.
I was say I actually like the home team there.
Yeah, listen. I've said before, I think Ohio State's better than maybe people think. I think they have some options there, but I don't know. I'm just not interested in them.
Coming off a big win over the weekend against Michigan State,
right.
you know, a team they've struggled to beat. So
Nebraska's pretty desperate at this point.
Yeah.
If they've kind of had an inconsistent year, which they seem to always have.
Yep.
I think Nebraska's a little bit better than they might come across as well. Georgia Tech, sorry, man, D-Bear, I don't have much opinion on that game. Boston College team total under, maybe. You know, Virginia's one of those teams that can really just make you totally out of your element. Oklahoma State, I would actually lean the other way there.
They play no defense.
No, they don't.
You talk about a team that doesn't play defense. Holy hell.
And Kansas State's actually good at home and at road ATS.
Right.
I would actually lean with the underdog in that game. Cal Irvine, that game's actually a client play. I will say this. I like first half in Cal Irvine. Cal Poly's bad.
Okay.
Pretty bad. Fresno State. Yeah, you've said that a couple times. Yeah, listen, Fresno State's a team that I like what they have. They're good rebounders. Always a big team, very big in their front court. But they have an issue for whatever reason of not closing games. I will point out, though, very good in conference against the spread over the years from what I can remember.
They're very good ATS in general this year.
Right? Yeah.
10-3. So
yeah, it would be Fresno or nothing for me there. I'm not really interested in Colorado State at all, but Mountain West is hit or miss. I had San Diego State last night, which I had a pretty good read on them, but yeah. So for me, I would go with Fresno. Did you see this?
I did not.
Yeah, I'm not sure how this happened, but
Jesus,
he was like a former cyclist. You didn't see that, I guess.
It was right into a tree.
Yeah, and he got up and walked back to his bike.
That's wild.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. But I think we got to everyone's game, Ryan, here. So good stuff as always.
Yeah.
I'm going to jump off, though. I promised that I would call into the show here. And what I'll do is I'll throw it out to everyone after we finish it up. It is a recorded show. It's not live. But just for tonight, Ryan, we'll just talk college basketball. Tomorrow we'll get into NFL. We'll get into some of our little games and stuff. I have something we can think about, Ryan. We're going to come up with our all-star college basketball team.
Yeah.
Each position.
Yep.
What coach we would pick. We're going to do that tomorrow. So keep that in your mind.
Yeah, sounds good.
And I'm going to tell you this. My team is very off the wall. You wouldn't believe my team.
Okay.
It's like the lottery. You're never going to come up with what I would pick. I feel like San Diego State's starting to come around. Yeah, they are. Exactly. I like what I'm hearing out of that group. You're taking USC Irvine? Okay. Thank you, John. Appreciate it. D-Bear, thanks. East versus West. No, it's just five who we think are our dream teams. Like if I could pick 5 players as my starting 5, who would I pick? It could be as long as they're playing the United States. We'll even take Hawaii.
I don't have anyone from Hawaii on my list. I'll tell you that.
That was a really quick. One more thing. That was a good question on Fuck That's Delicious the other day. Big Body Best can't travel outside of the country, and they said, can he even come to Hawaii?
Right.
And it is technically out of the country, but it's not because it's American.
Yes.
It's American state, but it's not on the mainland.
It's not on mainland, right? But it's still part of the country. But
Gabriel Garza, sorry, brother, we're about to sign off. He came on a little late here. I like Wyoming at home, not on the road. Cal Riverside, I'm not a big fan of either. Many more games on the card. Feel free to re-listen to the show. Try to get some plays here. Ryan, you were on Florida money line play of the day. I'm on Florida State -6.5. TCU, Texas Tech over 135, and Utah -9. Everyone have a great night. We'll be back tomorrow, Thursday, with another edition of the Big Ben on Campus. Anything else tonight, Ryan?
I'm good, brother.
Very good. Thanks, everyone, for participating. I hate to jump off early, but it's something I got to do here. Everyone have a great night. We'll see you tomorrow. Feel free to re-listen. Bye-bye.